All right, let's jump right in. I want you to picture the scene. The sun setting in the Garden of Eden, a cool breeze is moving through the trees. But for the very first time, there's this chill of fear in the air. Now, when God stepped into that broken moment, he didn't come in with rage, he came with reason. And he asked a question that honestly echoes through all of history.
And this right here, this is so important. That wasn't the cry of some furious judge, ready to bring the hammer down. It was the call of a father searching for his kids who he knew had been deeply, terribly deceived. It's a question about relationship, not about accusation.
For centuries, a lot of religious traditions have painted this moment as the point where God just turned his back on mankind. But what if we've been missing the real story all along? Because the scripture itself, it reveals something totally different.
This is where the common story really gets it wrong. We so often hear that God's anger was all pointed at Adam and Eve. But the scriptural truth is that God's justice kind of bypassed them to confront their deceiver. His focus was on the source of the problem, not the victims of it.
So God's actions here weren't some emotional outburst. What we're actually watching is a divine investigation. He's methodically tracing the crime back step by step to find the true source of the rebellion that had just crashed into his perfect world.
And you can see the flow of this whole thing so clearly. He questions the man, who points to the woman. He questions the woman, who points to the serpent. And it's right there that the investigation stops. God doesn't ask the serpent any questions. And you got to ask why. Because he's found the source. He found the instigator.
And this brings us to this really key concept, the author of treason. See, this wasn't about a simple mistake. It was a calculated act of treason against heaven itself, and it was carried out by the one who whispered, "Did God really say?" In God's eyes, humanity wasn't the root of the rebellion, Lucifer was.
Okay, so now we come to the verdict, and as God speaks the judgment, you've got to pay close attention to who he speaks to first. This single detail reveals absolutely everything about his heart.
And there it is, the target. The very first words of judgment, the first curse spoken in all of creation, are not directed at Adam or Eve. They are aimed directly at the serpent. God deals with the source of the problem first, every time.
And this just reveals this profound balance, unwavering judgment for the deceiver, but incredible mercy for the deceived. Even as he's pronouncing judgment on the serpent, God is covering Adam and Eve, literally clothing them, a powerful foreshadowing of his ultimate plan.
This, right here, this is the heart of the Father. He always sees the difference between the person who falls and the spiritual force that designed the fall. He looks right past the surface failure to identify and deal with the spiritual infection underneath. So this entire event in the garden isn't just a tragic story, it's actually the beginning of a redemptive one. It sets the whole stage for a promise that would find its ultimate fulfillment thousands of years later, at a place called Calvary.
So many of us have wrestled with this feeling of guilt, believing God is angry with us personally. But the cross is the ultimate proof that his anger was never aimed at you. It has always been aimed at the principle of treason that hijacked humanity. Jesus didn't come to appease an offended God. He came to reclaim humanity from its hijacker. And this just reveals the beautiful consistency of God's plan. The very promise God made way back in the garden, that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head, was kept in its entirety on the cross. This is one consistent story of redemption from start to finish. And on that day, heaven issued its final verdict. The case against humanity? It was closed. Our status? Redeemed. And the fate of treason's author? Condemned. Once and for all.
So what does all this mean for us today? This isn't just some ancient story. It is an invitation to step out of an ancient lie and into a present-day truth.
I want to ask you this directly. After all we've just seen, do you still see yourself as God's enemy? Do you still feel like you're hiding from him, expecting judgment?
If you do, hey, you're not alone. But it's so vital to recognize that you are believing the very same lie about God's character that trapped Eve in the first place, the lie that he's against you. The truth is, his arms have always been open.
So let's go all the way back to that first question. When God calls out, "Where are you?" Is that the voice of someone hunting you down for punishment? Or is it the voice of a father calling you out of the shadows for healing and restoration?
If you don't remember anything else, remember this. Let it sink deep into your spirit. God's problem was never, ever humanity. It has always been and will always be treason's author.
And here is the final incredible truth. That defeated author, the one condemned at the cross, now finds his final destiny right where God always intended it to be, under your feet. You are not the victim of his story, you are the victor in God's.